Drug trafficking is a global scourge, and at the heart of this dangerous trade are individuals known as drug mules. These individuals, often from disadvantaged backgrounds, are lured into transporting illicit substances across borders with the promise of easy money. However, the reality they face is far from glamorous. Drug mules are expendable pawns in a high-stakes game run by powerful criminal organizations. Their lives are fraught with danger, and they risk not only lengthy prison sentences but also their very lives. Drug mules operate in the shadows, constantly looking over their shoulders. If a mule is caught by law enforcement, they face severe legal consequences. Yet if they fail to deliver the drugs or are suspected of cooperating with authorities, they risk brutal retaliation from the cartels they serve. The life of a drug mule is a perilous gamble where the odds are stacked heavily against them. The plight of drug mules demands attention, not just to their individual stories, but also to the systemic factors that drive them into this perilous world. The legal consequences of drug trafficking vary widely around the world, but they are universally severe. In many countries, including the United States, individuals convicted of drug trafficking offenses face lengthy prison sentences, often measured in decades. Some countries, particularly in Southeast Asia, have adopted even more draconian measures, including the death penalty, for drug trafficking offenses. These nations argue that capital punishment is a necessary deterrent in the fight against drugs. However, human rights organizations have condemned these practices as cruel and inhumane, arguing that they violate fundamental rights. The imposition of the death penalty for drug offenses has drawn international criticism, with many calling for a more humane and effective approach to drug control. While laws and enforcement strategies may differ across borders, the underlying problem of illicit drug production, distribution, and consumption persists. This global challenge requires international cooperation and a multifaceted approach that addresses not only the supply of drugs, but also the demand for them. The debate over the most effective ways to address drug trafficking continues, with no easy solutions in sight. The case of Margaret Nduta, a 37-year-old Kenyan woman, tragically illustrates the perilous world of drug mules. In July 2023, Nduta was apprehended in Vietnam while in transit from Ho Chi Minh City to Laos. Authorities discovered 2 kilograms of cocaine in her possession, leading to her arrest and subsequent conviction on drug trafficking charges. Nduta's journey into the world of drug trafficking began with a promise, a chance to change her life and provide a better future for her family. Like many drug mules, she was lured by the allure of easy money, unaware of the severe risks involved. Her arrest sent shockwaves through her community in Murang'a, Kenya, where she was known as a devout Christian and a loving mother. Vietnam has some of the strictest drug laws in the world, and Nduta's conviction carries a heavy price, the death penalty. Her case has garnered international attention, with human rights groups and the Kenyan government pleading for clemency. The Kenyan mission in Bangkok is actively working to secure her repatriation and a commutation of her sentence. Nduta's case underscores the desperation that drives individuals to become drug mules. Southeast Asia has emerged as a major hub for drug trafficking, with countries like Vietnam, Thailand, and Malaysia grappling with the flow of illicit substances. The region's strategic location and weak law enforcement make it attractive for criminal organizations. The consequences for those caught are severe. Vietnam imposes the death penalty for significant drug offenses. This stance has drawn criticism from human rights organizations. The world of drug trafficking often preys on the vulnerable, exploiting their desperation and aspirations for a better life. Individuals from impoverished backgrounds, facing limited economic opportunities, may be enticed by the promise of easy money, unaware of the perilous journey that awaits them. Traffickers often employ sophisticated methods of deception, luring unsuspecting individuals into their networks through false promises and manipulation. They may target individuals with financial difficulties, offering them seemingly lucrative opportunities to transport packages or luggage across borders. In some cases, individuals may be coerced or even physically forced into becoming drug mules, threatened with violence against themselves or their loved ones. The reality of life as a drug mule is far removed from the glamorous image often portrayed. These individuals often operate in the shadows, living in constant fear of detection by law enforcement or betrayal by those they work for. Despite the risks, the cycle of poverty and desperation continues to fuel the supply of drug mules. Addressing the root causes of this vulnerability, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of access to education and employment, is crucial in breaking the cycle of exploitation that fuels the drug trade. The global nature of drug trafficking necessitates a coordinated international response. Organizations like the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime play a crucial role in combating drug trafficking by facilitating cooperation between governments, sharing intelligence, and providing technical assistance to strengthen law enforcement capacities. International efforts also focus on disrupting trafficking routes, dismantling criminal networks, and seizing illicit drug shipments. However, a purely law enforcement-centric approach is insufficient. There is a growing recognition of the need to address the demand side of the equation by providing accessible and affordable treatment and rehabilitation services for drug users. A more humane and effective strategy involves shifting from a punitive approach to one that prioritizes public health and harm reduction. Furthermore, it is essential to address the human rights of individuals caught in the web of drug trafficking, particularly those exploited as drug mules. Instead of solely focusing on punishment, there is a need to provide support and rehabilitation services to help them rebuild their lives. By addressing the root causes of drug trafficking, such as poverty, inequality, and lack of access to education and employment, it is possible to create a more just and equitable world where individuals are less susceptible to exploitation. The perilous path of drug mules highlights the human cost of the illegal drug trade. It is a story of desperation and exploitation. Margaret Nduta's case calls for a compassionate approach to drug control. Many drug mules are victims of circumstance, driven by poverty and lack of opportunity. Punishment alone doesn't address root causes. A humane approach requires a shift in perspective. Recognize their humanity and complex circumstances. Dismantle poverty and exploitation to end this trade.